The story begins with two massive armies facing each other across a dry, dusty plain. Their fate rests not on the bloodshed of thousands, but on a single duel. The Greek army sends out its champion, and the opposing army does the same. A hush falls across the field until Achilles, the greatest warrior of Greece, appears. He is a man of unmatched skill, arrogance, and confidence. With one swift strike, Achilles ends the duel in seconds, and the battle is over before it begins. Soldiers and kings alike look upon him with awe and envy. For Achilles, this is just another step toward his destiny. He fights not for kings, not for politics, but for glory and the immortal echo of his name. Meanwhile, across the sea, the two Trojan princes, Hector and Paris, are visiting Sparta under the banner of peace. Hector is noble, wise, and protective of his people, a warrior but also a man of honor. Paris, his younger brother, is impulsive and ruled by passion. In Sparta, Paris falls in love with Helen, the beautiful wife of King Menelaus. Their love is forbidden, but Paris convinces Helen to leave her husband and sail with him back to Troy. This single act becomes the spark that ignites one of the greatest wars in human history. When Menelaus discovers that Helen has been taken, his fury burns hotter than any flame. But his anger is not enough on its own to start a war. His brother, Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, sees the perfect excuse. Agamemnon is ambitious, ruthless, and hungers for power. He dreams of uniting all of Greece under his rule, and Troy is the final obstacle standing in his way. Using Helen's abduction as a justification, Agamemnon rallies the kings of Greece, including the cunning Odysseus, to raise a mighty fleet and sail across the Aegean Sea. For Menelaus, it is about reclaiming his wife. For Agamemnon, it is about conquest. For Odysseus, it is about survival and clever strategy. But for Achilles, it is about destiny. The Greeks know that without Achilles, their campaign might fail. Odysseus visits him and convinces him that this war is the opportunity he has been waiting for. Achilles' mother warns him of the choice he must make. If he stays home, he will live a long and quiet life, but his name will vanish into the dust of time. If he sails to Troy, he will never return, but his name will live forever. Achilles chooses immortality of fame over mortality of peace. He gathers his loyal Myrmidons, including his beloved cousin Patroclus, and sets sail for Troy. The Greek fleet arrives on the shores of Troy, thousands of ships filling the horizon like a forest of sails. Their landing is brutal. The Greeks storm the beaches with ferocity, clashing with Trojan defenders in a frenzy of steel and blood. Leading the charge, as always, is Achilles. He is a storm in human form, striking down warriors with grace and savagery. He storms the temple of Apollo, slaughtering defenders and seizing Briseis, a young Trojan priestess and cousin of Hector. Though she is his prize of war, Achilles feels something stir within him. Briseis awakens in him a gentleness that has long been buried beneath his thirst for glory. The war becomes a bloody stalemate. Day after day, Greeks and Trojans clash on the fields outside the great walls of Troy. Hector, the defender of his city, proves to be a warrior nearly as great as Achilles. He fights not for glory but for his people, his family, and his honor. He is loved by his men and respected even by his enemies. Paris, in contrast, is reckless and unskilled in battle. His love for Helen, though genuine, has endangered Troy. Yet Hector defends him, as an older brother must. In one duel, Hector kills Ajax, a towering Greek warrior, sending fear into the hearts of the enemy and pride into the hearts of the Trojans. But the Greeks will not relent. The feud between Achilles and Agamemnon explodes when Agamemnon claims Briseis from Achilles, humiliating him. Enraged, Achilles withdraws from the war entirely, refusing to fight. Without him, the Greeks suffer devastating losses. The tide turns when Patroclus, desperate to protect his fellow soldiers, dons Achilles' armor and leads the Myrmidons into battle. The sight of the armor terrifies the Trojans, who believe it to be Achilles himself. But Patroclus is no match for Hector. In a fierce duel, Hector slays him, only to realize afterward that it was not Achilles he had killed. The tragedy cuts deeply, and Hector feels the weight of his actions, though he acted in honor. When the news reaches Achilles, grief consumes him. His cousin was like a brother to him, and his death ignites a fire of vengeance in his heart. Achilles returns to the battlefield, his rage unstoppable. His duel with Hector becomes the centerpiece of the war, a clash of two titans whose names will echo forever. The fight is brutal, both men evenly matched, but Achilles' fury tips the balance. He kills Hector and, overcome with rage, ties his body to his chariot, dragging it across the dirt in front of Troy's walls. The sight breaks the hearts of the Trojans. That night, King Priam, Hector's father and the aging king of Troy, does something no one expects. He sneaks into Achilles' camp, unarmed, and kneels before the man who killed his son. With tears in his eyes, he begs Achilles to return Hector's body for a proper burial. Priam appeals not to the warrior, but to the man within, reminding him of his own father and the bond between a parent and a son. Achilles, moved for the first time in years, weeps with him. He returns Hector's body with honor, granting Troy a brief moment of peace amid the chaos of war. But Agamemnon's hunger for destruction is not satisfied. The Greeks devise a final, cunning plan, one born of Odysseus' clever mind. They build a massive wooden horse and leave it at the gates of Troy, pretending it is a gift to the gods, a symbol of their surrender. The Greeks sail away, or so it seems. Inside the walls, debate rages. Cassandra, cursed with prophecy no one believes, warns against it. But the Trojans, exhausted and convinced of their victory, drag the horse into the city. That night, as Troy celebrates, Greek soldiers hidden inside the horse slip out and open the gates. The Greek army returns under cover of darkness, flooding into the city. Troy burns. Flames consume the once mighty city as men, women, and children are slaughtered. Agamemnon takes his revenge, but his victory is stained with cruelty. Amid the chaos, Paris finds Achilles. Achilles has only one goal left: to protect Briseis, the woman who captured his heart. But Paris, filled with grief and anger, raises his bow. He fires arrow after arrow, and though most strike Achilles' armor, one finds its mark in his heel, the only vulnerable place on his body. Achilles stumbles, defiant even as death takes him. He fights until the very last breath before collapsing, finally defeated not by a warrior's blade, but by fate itself. Briseis mourns over his body, her tears falling on the man who had seemed invincible. Odysseus, ever the observer, ensures Achilles' name will never be forgotten. He sees clearly that though Troy has fallen, the legend of Achilles, Hector, and the Trojan War will live forever. Priam is dead, Hector is gone, and Troy lies in ashes, but the story of their courage and tragedy becomes immortal. The tale of Troy ends in destruction, but its echoes remain eternal, a reminder of love, honor, rage, and destiny.